Alright, let's hit up this subject. I'm very interested in it, and I wanted to talk a little bit about $70 DLC, Tears of the Kingdom. So yeah, people are saying, not everyone, but some people have been saying that it is a glorified DLC. And I find that very, very interesting. So let's chat a little bit about it. Now, I will not lie. When I first heard that this would be the first Zelda game that's $70, I was a little iffy. Can't lie. It's a steep price point. But playing as much as I've already played, and the variety of things that exist within it, I can safely say that it's definitely worth its price tag. Now, the biggest argument that's going around is that Nintendo is reusing assets for this game. Of course they are. I mean, it's not a surprise. But I remember when I first played Breath of the Wild, I loved the world, I loved the assets, I loved the look. And I remember thinking, I want more of this. And I don't know if any of you guys felt that way too. Like, I played through so many hours of Breath of the Wild, and I was really into the world, but I was missing some things in that game. I wanted it to be more alive, maybe have more people, more things going around, just more life. And this game absolutely delivered on that. So on that front, it's already good in my book. But going back to reusing assets, I understand now that in like modern gaming, this is something that's like frowned upon. It's like, oh, you're using the same thing. But I'm the idea, if it's not broke, why fix it? Like, if you already created a system that works really well, and now you understand fully how to make use of the system, why would you immediately abandon it to start doing something completely new? And that's something I don't understand when people give that argument that, oh, they're reusing assets. Well, I mean, do you want them to master this, or do you want them to always be experimenting? And I know Nintendo is always experimenting, but I also like when they sit down and they kind of perfect things. I mean, if you go back to Majora's Mask, I think that was a really good use or reuse of assets. And, you know, there's our, not the argument, but that game had a very limited frame of time that it was created in. And that's why they needed to reuse the assets. But it worked. It absolutely worked. And this is very different. This game took over 6 years to make, which is insane. It's an insane amount of time for a game that actually comes out. Usually when it's past 6 years, these games don't ever come out. Yeah, so getting past that, my next point is how huge this world is. And I don't mean huge just in size, but just in the variety of things that are going on within the world. So you have 3 maps. You, of course, have the normal Hyrule. You have the new edition, which is the Sky. Well, one of the new editions. Sky areas, which are a bunch of different islands and activities and things to do and explore. And then you have the Depths, which is basically Hyrule, same size as Hyrule, but underground. Also has its own set of things to do and explore. So that gives you 2 extra maps. But the interesting thing about the main map, and I'm sure if you've already played the game, you already know, is that Hyrule itself has changed. Everything is the same, yet very different. And what I mean by that is, if you know where places are, you'll be able to find it. If you know where Hateno Village is, Kakariko, you can find it. You can go right over there. However, a lot has changed in those areas and in the areas around that will sometimes make traversing to different places different. It'll give you different things that you have to do, different fights, other things to explore. And it's all really interesting, and it flows really well. As you're exploring, you just naturally start exploring new things. So, again, boom, you have way more value, even though it's reusing assets, But that's part of that. So right off the bat, this game, I would say, is about 3 times as big as Breath of the Wild. And I would say it has about 3 or 4 times the stuff to do in it. And it is very easy to get lost in the different activities and stuff. It doesn't feel forced, aside from a couple things that are maybe a little repetitive. I'm looking at you, you wood holding man. I'm looking at you. But aside from that, it's really natural to just get lost in the world and start doing different things and try to discover something new, and always done in a way that isn't tiresome. Honestly, it's easy to lose hours with this game, and that might be its biggest detriment. Is if you want to do things with your life, well, good luck, because this is gonna suck away your time. There's a greedy vampire that is sucking your time away, and you love every minute of it. But honestly, on that note, saying I love every minute of it, there are a couple of gripes I have with it. I would say the first one is your horse. When you were playing Breath of the Wild, your horse was your main way of getting around the world, aside from climbing, right? Well, it's kind of similar now. However, because Hyrule has changed so much, it is more difficult to get around on your horse, which is okay. It does kind of force you into traveling in different ways, going to the sky, flying around and everything. However, because the horse is tied to the stable, instead of just being able to call it anywhere, you're gonna be without a horse in a lot of situations that you wish you did have a horse. And I would have appreciated, and I'm not sure if maybe I haven't found this yet. Yes, I have over 100 hours in this game, and I still don't have everything or know everything. But it would have been appreciated to be able to summon your horse. I know it sounds ridiculous, but an ability that let you do that would have been fantastic in this game, and would really fit in versus Breath of the Wild, which was totally fine to hit the stables. That being said, getting to every stable is fun, and there's a lot of interesting things around stables. They are more of a center of like the specific communities in the world now. Like, you go there when you want to know what's going on in the area, what are you going to do next. People give you a lot of useful tips. So again, going back to the world being really alive and really developed, this is a game that is very developed. And to go back to the $70 DLC thing, that argument, because it's reusing assets or whatever, it's kind of ridiculous once you get into the world and see just how much they did with this world. It fixes so much of the gripes I had with Breath of the Wild. There was so much time that you are doing something's actually getting your attention. You're actually talking to an NPC that is actually trying to do something in the world. There's NPCs walking around, they're on horses and stuff, traveling all around the world, honestly. So you're never fully alone, but you do have your moments of being alone and just appreciating nature and everything that's going on. So let's go into some of the mechanics of the game that, again, you could say, oh, it's kind of the same thing. Maybe there's an argument like that. Well, instead of the Sheikah Slate, you now have your hand, your Ultra Hand, your I'm not gonna give spoilers, but Link's new hand, basically. Now, the powers that are given to you in this game are definitely different than Breath of the Wild, but very useful. And it changes the way the game works. And we already know, we've seen all the attachment videos, you know, people making Gundams out of wood and rocks and stuff, etc., and sending Koroks to the moon. But honestly, like, you know, gimmicks aside, it really works because the shrines, they use these tools that they give you in a really interesting way. Shrines are something else that are like an improvement, in my opinion, in this game over Breath of the Wild. I found myself in Breath of the Wild getting frustrated a lot with some of these shrines. And I feel it's mostly because they were really forcing you to finish the shrines in a certain way. Now, of course, you could cheese the game a little, you know, in some dungeons, but some dungeons you couldn't. But this game, they fully give you these tools and tell you, figure it out. This is the way that normally we would do it. But if you find another way, you go ahead and you do whatever you gotta do. Have fun and, you know, go wild. And that's what I've noticed with this game. A lot of these shrines are a lot more fun because sometimes you find out how to do something a different way. You watch a video of someone else doing it and you're like, whoa, that's how you did it? Okay. I didn't do it like that. Like I made like some contraption with 2 sticks and a ball and climbed the side of the sticks or something, you know? And I really think that's an improvement, and it shows how much they've worked on this system that they have, or this engine that helps Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom exist. And that wouldn't happen if they didn't have enough time with this same engine. And it really shows, because I have a lot more fun now than in Breath of the Wild and Shrines. It was a little taxing before, and here and there's a shrine or two that really gets me blazing. But overall, I really enjoy them, and it's just an improvement. And it goes into almost every aspect of the game, you know. It's very natural to create things that make your life easier within the game. Maybe you want to get to a point where you have to fly normally, and you make something that you like an airplane or something, and you get there and it's quick, boom, no problem. It's kind of hassle free, and it keeps the game flowing. And again, that's the mastery of, I don't know, at this point, 12 years working with this engine, which is insane to me. It really works, and it really shows the love that they have for this game. So I would definitely argue that this game is not DLC. However, I do understand the backlash at a $70 game. I mean, it's getting really out of hand. I do think prices are getting out of hand in gaming overall. And usually, this is a price point that is kind of, well, I'm not usually chipping into it. But I can honestly say that this game is worth the money, although I do not want to support this upward trend of more and more expensive games. I understand the economy is changing and everything, but the issue I have with this is that it really causes some people to never try these things. It's just too much of a risk. $70 can go to a lot of things. It can go into groceries for like half of your groceries for a month, or etc., whatever. And it could kind of deter people from trying something, especially when they see something like Tears of the Kingdom that does look like Breath of the Wild on the outside, but is definitely not Breath of the Wild on the inside. I would say it's a very new game, a lot of new mechanics, a lot of improvements, a lot of unique situations, very different story, quite different, but packaged in kind of like the packaging of Breath of the Wild and the look. And I would definitely, if you're on the fence and you have the money, I would definitely give it a shot. Try it out. You'll see for yourself. I doubt you will be disappointed. And besides that, let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about that $70 price point? Do you actually still think it's DLC after what I said? Let me know, and thanks for checking this video out if you made it this far. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Let me know if you like videos like this. Peace.